Hello?
Hi, Ilangho.
Are you able to see me? Hi?
Hi. No, I can't see you. Hang on, you can't see me either.
One second.
There you go. Hey, Ilangho.
Able to see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
You see this?
Yeah, thank you.
We say in India, no, the lotus feet of the Guru. Offering to the lotus feet of the Guru. So, thanks very much for being online for all of us.
Oh, with pleasure.
Because this is a blessing to all of us. And wish you also a happy new year and the best new year ever. 2016.
Thank you.
Today we were talking about a lot about energy. And we know that the human being is made up of 100 trillion cells. And they say each cell has got 100 trillion atoms. You're able to see me?
Yes, I can see you.
Skype was frozen.
Oh, it's frozen again. Hang on. Just let me fix that. I might have to restart Skype.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll just call you back.
Yeah?
Yeah. There you go. Should be fixed now.
Yeah.
But now I can't see Ilangho. Oh, there we go.
Yes?
Yeah.
Able to see?
Yeah, I can see.
So we say the human body is made up of 100 trillion cells. Colony of 100 trillion cells.
Yeah.
And each cell is containing 100 trillion atoms. And each cell, they say, is more complicated than New York City's entire machinery.
Yeah.
So this is a gigantic piece of machinery speaking to you, made up by this universe. And so in whatever way we keep asking you, you keep dodging questions in the sense that you say there is no prescription and there is no teaching. So I was just wanting to sort of rephrase the questions that I've been posing to you, saying like, when you have a prop, say for example, you poke your hand on something and there is pain. The hand, is taken away and the other hand maybe sort of comforts it because that's part of you. It happens to you and you comfort yourself. And you are a quote-unquote enlightened person. I mean, I think we understand what we talk beyond the words. The quote-unquote enlightenment. Though you say there is no enlightenment and it's the energy waking up to itself. So from your point of view, from the body-mind point of view of Lisa Cairns, we are all part of you. The entire universe is one. So when this energy bundle has a pain or a suffering, can that part of the organism, this is a universal organism happening. You understand what I'm trying to come at? So when this body-mind mechanism is suffering still, and the body-mind mechanism across to me on the screen, on Skype, is not. And that body-mind mechanism understands that this is the entire infinite universe is one. Is there any way, like for in your body, when there is a pain, you comfort it? That when we are part of you also, is there...
Well, there is nobody here, but this body is very... There is nobody here, so it's not a personal thing. It's not me comforting you. There isn't somebody here. There's lots of different reactions happening, but there's not actually somebody here that's in relationship with the world. But there is a body which seems to be in relationship with the world, and this body is very sensitive to its environment. So it is very sensitive to the feelings of others and what others feel. and think.
So?
But you think that that functioning equals Lisa. That's the mistake.
No. What I'm saying is, I'm looking at a body which is made up of 100 trillion cells speaking to me, making noises.
Yeah.
And I am Wi-Fi connected to you. Not in terms of the internet. I'm talking to you energy-wise.
But also human-wise, in the sense, the terms of bodies, we
are connected.
Yeah, but also
in the language of computers, internet, there is a Wi-Fi connection happening as we see physically. But I am not talking about that Wi-Fi internet Skype connection.
No.
I am talking about the universal energy connection which can happen between the body called as Lisa Cairns there in Ilangho here, which does not have a name. It's all a universal energy function. And when the body of Lisa Cairns has a problem, the other hand gives it a comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, this entire human race is also part of.
Yeah. So the questions get asked, and this body replies.
Right.
Like if the questions were asked to Ilangho about illness, it's more than likely that the Ilangho body would reply.
Yes.
So it replies, but I'm not comforting you. There isn't somebody here that's comforting you, because who would that somebody be?
No, I'm not talking about somebody there comforting me, because I understand, at least intellectually, there is no you and there is no I. What I am saying is, this is a physical body with a mind, which has the cycle of, as you said today, fear, suffering going on. So this part of this body mind is asking that body mind, which is also the one, another energy bundle, which has cut off that suffering, malignant pathway. It's by, I don't know by what, in Bali, something happened. And after that, there has been no suffering in the body mind speaking to me. So can that energy bundle there do something or talk something? Or
it can only do what it does in every instant.
Yeah. So there is no mechanism or methodology in which...
just whatever appears in the moment, but none of it's right or wrong, because something that I say intellectually could be contradicted again by me 10 minutes later. It's not like there's a dogma or a religion to believe in, it's just an expression happening in every instant. That's what's always been happening, is just expression every instant. But the person is so unused to speaking like this, is used to me and time. What's going to happen to me? Where am I going to get to?
But there apparently appears to be a semblance of, in this drama of life, a semblance of Lisa Cairns having a bi-weekly talk on Ustream. Though she is in the moment, it's happening. So there is no plan, it is just happening spontaneously. Isn't it?
And I think that's what the other bodies are attracted to.
Yeah.
Is it spontaneity, but they aren't separately attracted to it, it's just the energy moves them in that direction, like the ocean goes backwards and forwards.
Is it like, can we say there is a magnet called as Lisa Cairns there, and certain bodies are destined to be attracted towards Lisa Cairns? That's how the energy happens, automatically, in a free fall. So why is it only certain people, listen to you? Is it part of this cosmic plan? As you keep on telling, there are about less than 100 people in the entire globe of 7 billion now listening to you.
I know, and it's free.
Pardon? And it's free, yeah. So, isn't it a cosmic plan that only certain people are destined to be, destined to listen to everything?
Yeah, but it's not my magnet. You're not pulled to me. Magnets are on every side. So if you imagine an ocean or a wind, And we're the wind picking up these leaves, and these leaves are in a tornado together, kind of like swirling around together. That's what it's like. So these energy is doing a dance, and these energy are doing the dance of what we'd label as awakening. But it's nothing personal. It's all the same energy, really, creating the people out there that are suffering, homeless, murderers, paedophiles, saints, teachers, schools, New York, the internet. It's the same energy everywhere. You can't get away from it. You can never escape it. It can never escape itself. All it can do is it creates this dream of somebody that feels like it's separate and gives the appearance that there's individuation and that there's independence. And then, but to the rabbit, to the dog, to all other, there is no appearance of that. So all of it is happening and not happening, is still and in movement. It's only the person that really feels it's in movement and that this is really real and that it moves through a separate world and that something can actually hear it.
So is there no way for this me to dissolve?
There isn't a path. There isn't a path which you can independently choose to go on. There is simply what happens. There is simply the way.
Simply what?
The way.
What way are you talking about?
What happens?
That's the way.
Everything now is guiding it. Everything now is shouting, here, 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 here. You can't escape yourself, Ilangho. I don't mean you as a person, I mean energy. Energy can't escape itself, it's just dreaming it can. It lays there in agony, but at least it feels like it's separate. At least it feels like it can get away from itself, but it can't. Everything you look at, everything that is touched is itself. There is no inside and outside world.
For you, but for us, it's still there, no?
There is no you, though. Even that illusion is the same here. It just feels like there is a you. What is possibly you now? What could possibly be Ilangho? There is only stillness, expressing itself as movement.
But this memory gives the illusion of the I.
Yeah, memory and sensations, yeah.
Okay.
But really, that's never happened, right? But then we look in that memory and we think, okay, I'm someone that needs to wake up, and I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do it through a process of this, and I'm going to go down a path to somewhere. And it's just not true. There's never been somebody there. There has only ever been this instant. This is it.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, you understand and you think that we're actually speaking, but energetically what's happening in these talks is just this. But it's totally energetical. You think that there's something that could be understood, but it's not at all. Not at all. There's never been someone there that can understand. There's been a brain that registers things very accurately and pops up with new thoughts. But none of that leads to anywhere. It's all the same energy in stillness, appearing as movement. And by its movement, it gives the appearance that something's happening, but there's nothing happening.
Frequently, you're so passionate. You say these words like, "I love non-duality," isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't know if non-duality is the right title, because non-duality has been really bastardized by the West now. Whew. I don't know what you call it anymore, but this, not two, not divided, that it's not separate person.
That's Advaita, right?
I don't even know if it's Advaita, because it's also in Buddhism. I presume it's also in Christianity. Just not divided, not a separate world.
okay, even if you're not going to label it as Advaita or non-duality or Buddhism or Christianity, this message of oneness has been spoken for thousands of years from the Vedas in the East to many mystics like Saint Ignatius in the West, to so many people in Buddhism and other things. Is it that they were always missing the mark, those who were sort of enlightened?
Well, there wasn't
this
anyone.
Message has come across.
Sorry?
The message that you are telling us now of this, I mean, there's no teaching, there's only this, you just point to the present moment, has been veiled even in the Vedas and the Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures by big, enlightened, so-called enlightened masters also. They were always giving a command of, please do this, sit down in meditation, do this chanting, or get into Padmasana and lotus position or whatever it is. And this message that you are giving of this, is it correct that when I say that over the thousands of years, that's the reason why probably human beings were not able to sort of get this message as of now?
But actually, it's always been there. Like the Buddha is purportedly does.
But he gets the Eightfold Path. And I have not read much of Buddhism.
Well, it's so vast, Buddhism, but it's also there in Buddhism.
Now, what I'm trying to actually
like the Buddha just held a lotus flower and it was seen, and then there's the other story of Agunala, which I've told you before. So there are the stories there.
There are. Mahakashyap, I think, the first one on lotus flower. He shows the lotus flower and the guy gets enlightened.
And then with the path of emptiness in Buddhism as well, it's like a live talk of it. Imagine if I started giving practices, it would just be dead. It would be dead, but not dead in the way that I sometimes use the word dead. I mean dead as in like it would be...
It would not be live.
Yeah. It's not...
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now you have to come and we have to sit here, and then eventually this is...
Why I'm asking this question is, we speak in spiritual circles that the human being is dumb when compared to the animals.
Yeah.
You understand? I'm saying like we are dumb spiritually when compared to animals because the animals live in the moment. Whereas human beings live in the past and project to the future, and they screw up their lives. But still, human beings are quite intelligent, and they are the most intelligent species in the planet. And then now they are overdoing it. Is it the reason is because that probably all the enlightened masters were always giving telling them to do things. That is why even Hinduism in India has become so corrupted that people start doing worship and multiple idol worship and so many things. They've lost the core of Hinduism. Is it the reason is because the masters had not given the message correctly to a human population which is quite intelligent, and if the message was given properly, even people would be sort of lead better lives. Only now coming to the 20th century, 21st century, now somebody like Lisa Cairns and Tony Parsons are shouting the message of this. Otherwise, even now all around there are a lot of people giving prescriptions. So my request is it that Lisa Cairns maybe have to still fine-tune the message to us, where something clicks to the the internet population. The 70 becomes 70,000 and 7 lakh. It's not in terms of gathering membership, but in terms of helping the human population. At some point in time, something happened, and the entire world has changed. As I've been telling you sometime in the past, a Newton comes along and changes the history of science. Copernicus comes, Einstein comes, and everything happens right up to the internet now. Is that a time has come through the internet that the message to be conveyed across has to be more fine-tuned? What you're saying is, we are receiving it. It's from we don't know what's happening inside there. A small, I don't know what it is.
It's so perfect, all of it. Like The trees blow and the leaves fall off, and another tree blows and the other leaves fall off, and then the leaves get caught by the wind and the sun shines and catches the reflection. It's an endless flow of movement. Those teachers spoke in that way because that's the way they spoke. I speak in this way because that's the way I speak. And right or wrong is in the illusion. This or that is in the illusion. They're better and they're worse, and this message is the proper message. It's just in the world of opposites. There is neither. There is energy playing. Energy playing, always. There isn't the right message or the wrong message. But where does that leave you? Nowhere, which is where you've always been. Nowhere. Nothing to hold to. No belief systems. Just life happening. The body has belief systems, but there's nobody there with belief systems. It just is freefall, just a happening. Not right nor wrong or good or bad.
No, actually, I'm not blaming the teachers. I mean, we are all in reverence to all of them. But why is it that it has taken maybe around 2,000, 3,000 years for the essence of the message to come now?
Oh, I think it has always been there.
No, even the biggest teachers have always been prescribing.
I don't know about that. But even if they were prescribing, it doesn't mean that that prescription wasn't innocent. Innocent as in coming from no place. If I said to you, would you pass the salt, does that mean I'm identified?
Yes. You asked a question.
It's just a happening. There's nobody there that wakes up. There's nobody that's free. There is energy moving always. You don't end at the edge of that body, and I don't begin at the edge of this body. It's just a functioning life uses these bodies in order to experience itself.
So the teaching again remains this.
Yeah. And if you said to me, most probably, it depends on the energy that Ilangho comes with, but if you said to me that these teachers were right, I would say they were wrong. If you said they were wrong, I would say they were right, because there's nowhere to stand. There's nothing. There is simply life happening. There is no you that has anything, to have anything.
I understand very clearly what you're telling us. But is it possible for you to just step back from the present you're absolutely rooted to and look at what's happening as a drama in life? That Lisa Cairns is coming on Ustream twice a week for the last 5 years, half a decade.
Yeah.
And there is a website.
Yeah.
There are retreats happening around the world.
Yeah.
Except in India. Okay. And there appears an illusion of a non-dual teaching coming with a pristine essence of nothing.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I mean, just a request that you can pull back yourself, like like these Star Wars movies, zip out and then you and there's something happening around you. You're not able to do that after Bali. In time and space, there appears to be a journey for Lisa Cairns, the non-dual teacher.
Have I got stuck again? Or have you got stuck? Ah! You got stuck!
Energetic transfer happening.
Oh, you got stuck just then. I missed it all.
I'm able to see. Oh, okay. I'll repeat it. Now?
Yeah, I can see you now. You're moving again, but you got stuck and your voice got stuck as well.
So, is it possible for you to pull back from the absolute rootedness of the present that you are in and come to a world of time and space and see that you are journeying in time and space with people like us around you, listening to you, reading your books, hearing your talks, and understanding the teaching of no teaching. The end point of this game is to cut the suffering of the new. This human
Well, actually, I
organism.
don't know if that's the end point.
No, even today's talk, I was actually taking down notes. You said they want enlightenment, afraid of the bullet points where humans want enlightenment, afraid of pain, afraid of movement. But there is nothing interacting. Deep down, human, quote unquote, knows it. The elusive person comprehends it and is afraid of losing it. This room, the blood, everything is changing. But the basic concept is this person, this me, has a fear. But then you contradict yourself and say nothing happens and nobody is there. And you're never going to die and no person exists. I understand that paradox. The Zen technique of teaching. You go to the North Pole, South Pole, North Pole, South Pole, till the human gets so mad that everything collapses. From the human point of view, we want this implosion of this me.
It's so sweet. North Pole, South Pole, North, South, North.
Then that's it. Done. All the poles disappear.
Yeah.
There is only one. We are requesting the implosion of the me, the person, which creates this feeling of identity of, two-ness, and there is a separate person here. This person is going to die, and therefore every moment is a fight for survival, fight or flight, fight for survival. So can we cut that link at some point in time? That's what.
So what is it that you want to get away from now? Why do you want fear?
Fear. See, as I am now speaking to you, the oneness is there, the silence is there, the stillness is there. It's beautiful. But the moment tomorrow comes, and what I am going to do tomorrow, and the pluses and minuses of this is positive, I'm going to be happy. If it's negative, I'm going to be unhappy. If it stays in the moment and goes away, it's fine. But then there is a continuation of that frame to frame, and the file is built up like in a computer of what's going to happen tomorrow. And if there's going to be a negative issue, it's going to affect my survival in some way. And therefore, the fear comes of loss of me as a person. That's the issue. When I first heard the Buddha talking about ultimately the enlightenment is the end of suffering, 20 years ago, I used to think, what is this person talking about? Very mundane affairs. I thought enlightenment was like angels singing and trumpets blowing in the heaven and a symphony happening. But then ultimately it boils down to the human being scared shit of the present, where enlightened masters.
But you see, the thing is, Ilangho, is it's not going to work.
What's not going to work?
Anything to do with you getting away from that fear.
Right.
It's not going to work. What happens is that Ilangho is going to have less and less places to run to, and then the fear will just be allowed to be fear, and then the you dissolves into that. It's the opposite to what the seeker's looking for, in a way, because the seeker's always looking for the back door, for the exit. And the reason that there's freedom here is because Lisa's not trying to exit the experience. There's not a Lisa here trying to exit the experience. The experience is as it is in every moment. That's the difference. That's the end of suffering, is the end of trying to get out of it. This is what all the masters are talking about, the end of running after pleasure and away from pain. And so what happens in these talks is I give you no place to run to.
But this me is automatic. It runs by itself, and you don't have.
It runs by itself, and it will get undone by itself. Just like the tree grows by itself. And you won't even know it's happening. If you knew it was happening, you'd try to use it to run to another place.
You mean the me of the you?
The separate self will try to use what's being said here to run to another place. It gets undone without you even knowing it, in the most unexpected way. And then, when it's undone, it's seen that it never even happened. It was all a fantasy, that somebody was caged and that someone got released. Because really all there ever was stillness appearing as movement. And in that movement it seemed like there were separate things, and there were things it was interacting with. But that illusion happens, undoes by itself. And no matter what you theorize about it and what you tell yourself about it, you'll never work it out. Your trying to work it out was always to try and get away from yourself, to get away from the sensations, that fear, that dread, that anxiety, and they're empty. They're like ghosts, there's nothing to them. But the person really thinks there's a boogie monster there, so it runs and runs and runs. That fear, that anxiety is it. It is the fear, it is the anxiety. And the person's like, oh, this cannot be it. Let me practice. Let me listen to this. And I'm not saying don't do or do. I'm just not even addressing that. And I don't know if I'm step back or step forward, because this body just opens its mouth and out come the words. It doesn't even register if it's making sense. It's so lost in the sounds and the sights and the vision, and the glasses and the wall and the face.
So, which part of me are you addressing? Are you addressing the false self in me? Are you sort of trying to...
I can never address the false self. The false self is like a chemical reaction happening in every instant. The false self never listens, never looks, never hears. The false self is a play that comes up and feels like somebody is talking to it. I can never talk to the false self.
So you're talking to God?
Always. Always. And God might play as a false self that uses this message to soothe itself or scare itself or run away. And this might feel burning and agonizing, maybe not now, but maybe later. As the person comprehends, the illusionary thing comprehends that running, getting to the future is not going to help. There is nothing outside of what happens. And in what happens, as what happens, there is itself. There is everything you look for. There's all the answers and all the questions. There is everything.
So God is talking to God.
Always. Couldn't be any other way.
And this part of the God is blindfolded by it's playing a game, is it?
This part of God has a dynamic playing, coming up, appearing as if there is something in time listening. But there can never be something in time listening. But it gives that appearance that Ilangho is listening, and Ilangho is all these different things, and that tomorrow Ilangho will be all these different things.
So this is a video game?
Yes.
Ilangho is a video game?
Yes.
Which happens after the event? Or maybe happening along with the event?
It just happens along with the event. There's only ever this instant, but it gives the appearance as if something exists in time. And the animals are blessed because they don't have that functioning. They don't have a brain which has that ability to do that. But the animals can never comprehend the home either.
The last time when you had spoken to me, you had asked me to do some homework on the teachings of Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharishi.
Oh yeah?
You said, read it up and tell me like what he told.
Oh yes, I said to you to about if you'd ever heard him in Tamil.
Yeah. So there is a book called Who Am I?
Mm-hmm.
That is, I think, his only message which he had given of, and it consists of about 28 questions answered to one Indian person in 1902, where he, when he was asked about what to do, he replies in a question-answer format. And in the beginning, he keeps giving prescriptions. He does give prescriptions, like, what to do. And ultimately, the bottom line of his teaching was find out who you are.
Yeah. I'm just plugging in my computer, but yes, I am. And did you read it? What language did you read it in?
I have both the English and Tamil.
Yeah. And they're quite similar?
Meaning?
Yeah,
more or less quite similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the essence is that he says, you do it. Like, you find who you are. And when you find who you are, that's it. That's what he says. But then in one of the answers, he says, when the question is not everything the work of God? He replies, without desire, resolve or effort, the sun rises, and in its mere presence, the sunstone emits fire. lotus blooms, water evaporates, people perform their various functions and then rest. Just as in the presence of the magnet, the needle moves, it is by virtue of the mere presence of God that the soul is governed by the three cosmic functions or the fivefold divine activity, perform their actions and then rest in accordance with their respective karmas. God has no resolve, no karma attaches itself to him. That is like worldly actions not affecting the sun, or like the merits and demerits of the other four elements not affecting all pervading space. He sort of says it's like everything is destined. He contradicts. That's what he says. You had wanted to know that, no? Like, and always he was always prescribing this prescription of you find who you are. And when you find who you are, then ultimately the mind rests in the silence.
The you, he says the you disappears.
The false I collapses. That's what I think he means. And he says the so-called false I is the words that he uses is a mysterious force inside the brain which creates all these things. He says, what is called mind is a wondrous power residing in the self. It causes all thoughts to arise. Apart from thoughts, there is no such thing as mind. Therefore, thought is the nature of mind. Apart from thought, there is no independent entity called the world. So that's how he goes. Why do you go to Tiruvannamalai when you come to India?
Why?
Do you go to Tiruvannamalai? That is Bhagwan Ramana Maharishi's. Who are you? Is there any particular reason or anything? The Indians go there.
Yeah. I didn't really have a reason. I had a reason to go and see Ramesh, but I didn't really have a reason. It just kind of happened. Friends were going, and I just went with them.
Did you feel any shift in energy at Tiruvannamalai?
No.
It was all the same.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter about the way all the different speakers speak. If there's a resonance with it, then that's what's happening, and if there isn't, there isn't. I don't really understand why these speakers talk as if you can do, but that's what they do.
And Ramana Maharshi, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi is supposed to be the epitome or the apex body of teaching, at least in the recent last 1 or 2 centuries. He's supposed to be the essence of Advaita.
Yeah.
He will teach. In your opinion, how do you look at the human race? What is our problem?
The sense of self, that you are separate from life.
And fear?
There is natural fear, and then there's a fear that comes from the sense of being separate.
So the core of the problem is the self,
yeah.
Separate self.
And then there's fear. There's naturally fear. The body is naturally meant to feel fear. And then there's this added illusion that you are separate. And then that creates this whole drama that you possibly are alive and that you can die. It's this world of opposites.
Yeah. You also get the natural fear, right?
Yeah.
You say sometimes when you take LSD, like you're scared, something may happen. That fear happens to you.
Sometimes
also.
when I take what?
Take her for a walk. In your
Khaleesi. I think you said
Khaleesi.
take LSD.
No.
I'll take Khaleesi, yeah.
Yeah, that you do get a fear.
Yeah.
But the difference between you and us is that when we get a fear, we spin a web around it and multiply it. And that because of the separate self. That's the difference.
It's not that you spin a web around it, it's that you believe it's your fear. And that you need life to be a certain way. And then the you tries to get out of the fear. And the you tries to have this destination. It doesn't want to be someone that's scared. It doesn't want to have these feelings. It wants to be enlightened or rich or whatever it wants to be. That's the problem. It's very simple.
Whereas for you, only the fear arises and goes away.
Yeah.
That's all. It's a momentary happening, and that's it.
Yeah, but it might be many moments. Like Lisi might be running after. She doesn't actually do it anymore. She's becoming so well behaved. I can't use her as an example anymore. But yeah, so it could be many moments, but it's instantaneous. It's coming from nothing. It's not coming from me trying to be something. That's the problem, is the separate self trying to be something, trying to not be afraid, trying to look dignified, trying to be something. That's where all the problems come from.
And that is automatic.
It's automatic. But everything's automatic.
Yeah. Okay, everything is automatic. It's still a question. It may appear a bit stupid. You took Alice from Thailand, right?
Yeah.
And you're training her.
Yeah.
Why are you not training us?
Because it's a different thing, the training of the body.
Yeah, but even that, the body of an animal is also a body. You put a collar around it, you give it electric shocks.
Or very rare, I've only ever given her one electric shock. Or two maybe. One by accident.
No, what I'm trying to say is, like, you're so fond of her, and
yeah, no, but that's different. That's the body training. That's like, it's not the body that wakes up. I'm not training the body to wake up. This isn't something you remember, and this isn't something the brain gets. This is life waking back up to itself. It's a totally different thing. In the human world, Lisa acts as if she's the doer. As if Khaleesi's the doer. So I say to her, no, you've got to sit now, otherwise you don't get your treat, or... But it's not that wakes up. That's a functioning. These bodies function as if they're the doer. Like they have the thought, I'm going to have apple juice. But there's not actually somebody there that's going to have apple juice. There's not somebody there that chooses. That's what goes. So training the body is different. Training the body is a bodily thing, that the bodies need to be trained. They need to learn to speak, or they don't need to, but in order to fit into society, it needs to happen. But that training, we always think that waking up is to do with us, and it's beyond that functioning. It's not the body that wakes up, because the body never listened, the body never looked. It's not that I'm speaking to. Who am I speaking to? I'm not speaking to a you in time. That's the functioning. That's the way we function as humans, and that's a very intelligent way to function. We're kind of intelligent. I say sit and people sit, or Khaleesi sits, and I say pass the salt and the salt gets passed. But it's not that person I'm saying, can you pass the salt? It's not that functioning in which I'm speaking to. That's a functioning. I'm not speaking to Ilangho in time. There is no Ilangho in time. There is only ever stillness expressing itself in every instant. That's what's listening, that's what's looking, that's what's creating this body, that's what's creating this world, that's what's creating Khaleesi. That's all there is. It's right here, it's everything, and you can never get there, because the appearance of you is in a memory, is in past and future, and it doesn't really exist. It was only ever something that came about in order to function better, and then it became a separate self.
So what is the difference between you telling pass the salt and coming on Ustream and giving a non-dual?
Because we're talking in silence. Saying pass the salt is talking in silence, but we're talking about the silence that is now, which has got nothing to do with whether you pass the salt or not, whether you run round or meditate. It's got nothing to do with anything in time.
If everything is automatic, is it that in life perfectly? This I wanted to ask. I have seen video footages in YouTube of a pride of lions hunting. For example, 4 or 5 lions.
Just one second. Oh no, it's okay. Yep, carry on.
I have seen YouTube videos of pride of lions, 4 or 5 lions.
Mm-hmm.
They just spread out, and they see a herd of antelopes or deer out in the forest. They don't speak to each other. I've seen them crouching like that.
Yeah.
They spread out like a commando team, and they go like that, and without signaling each other, they start the hunt.
Yeah.
One moves, the other one, they crouch on the grass and they go, then they keep moving, they get their kill, and they eat the prey.
And dogs can do that with kilometers between each other. It's amazing.
Yeah.
They can have kilometers and they can circle an animal when they start off kilometers apart in an area they don't even know.
Yeah, so animals do that and they live, they eat, they live and they survive. It's only in humans there is a necessity for pass the salt.
Yeah, but we're also incredibly psychic as well.
Yeah.
But with the separate self, we're mostly only focusing on action and language. And so there's not an awareness of that.
So is it that human beings, there may have been a time or there may be a time in the future that human beings, without saying pass the salt, the other person will pass the salt.
Yeah, that could be a possibility. But at the moment, we're relying so much on language that most probably that will be the way that we function.
Is it not possible to function with like the animals? They get their prey. See, for example, suppose a lot of times people say animals do not plan, but I have an exception. For example, ants, they plan for the winter, though they may be happening in the now.
But they don't know they're planning for the winter because they don't know what the winter is and they don't know they're planning. But that happens, yes, the food gets put away. Same with bees. Same with dogs, actually. Dogs bury food.
Yeah, but how do we know that they don't know?
But how could they know if they don't have language?
That's what I'm asking. Is there a Wi-Fi? For example, dolphins, they say have a certain language.
But they're not communicating through the language that we imagine. They're communicating through feelings and sensations. It's happening all the time, though. It's happening with us.
Why am
I can know more. I can know loads about someone before they even speak. But that's nothing to do with Lisa being special. We've all got that ability, but most of the time the brain is focused just on language. It's to do with the right or left side, I forget which side, being more active. Whether you have a more word active side, or whether you have a less active. And I have a less active word side, so I'm more sensitive. And it's nothing special. It's part, the animals do it, so do we. My dog instantaneously reacts on my emotions. It's so quick. We can be in different rooms and I get fear or she gets fear and both of us know. This is why I enjoy dogs so much, because we're speaking on a non-verbal level, whereas humans are always insisting on verbal. It's a nice way to communicate, but not better. But humans constantly are focused on verbal communication, but there's so much detail happening.
The reason why I'm asking this is it because of language the entire misery of human beings started?
Yes, totally.
Then is it not high time that somebody gives a message of silence that cut your words?
Well, it can only happen when it happens, but yes, it's totally to do with language. But it became energetical because it kept getting repeated. I am this body. I am this body. It's become an energetical sense, and we passed it on cellularly to.
So can we say that when they talk about human evolution, they said language was the greatest thing ever to have happened, and so many things happened, poetry, etc., etc. It is language which screwed up mankind.
It only screwed up mankind from a certain perspective. It made great creativity and beautiful things happen, amazing things, but yeah, it did also screw us up terribly. We began to suffer because we believe we exist separately.
Before language, we were not suffering like this.
No.
Everybody was a Lisa Cairns.
Yeah, yes, but most probably the survival rate was only to about 20 or 30 years old.
But the point was not in survival, it is the quality of survival which is important, isn't it?
Yeah. Kids have it. They are identified, but it's less. So kids do have more of an a spontaneity, but it's more. But they're beginning to get it. But yeah, as the body gets older and older, it suffers more and more because it gets more and more a sense that it exists and that it's got to be something, whereas there's nothing to be. All the language, everything that we made up is an illusion. This is why I'm so adamant that animals don't suffer, because they can't think like we do. They can think as imagination, and like my dog has a sense where all her bones are in the house, and so they have some form of thinking, but it's in images. But because they can't speak and they don't have this word I, they've never developed a sense that they are something separate inside the body, because it doesn't exist at all. It's only in our language that separation exists, but it's become energetical. It's become a sensation, but it's not true at all. There is no I inside the body. There is simply life, and there is no edge and world. This doesn't end here. It's only the thoughts that say I end here because my sensation ends here. That's not true. There is no difference between the air and the sensation. The sensation and the air are the same thing. And that's the way it was before language started. There was simply eating. There was simply looking. There was simply feeling. There wasn't somebody feeling a separate world. The feeling and the felt were the same thing. Then when language began, they were somebody in here. I went hunting, I ate fruit. And then this got repeated more and more and more. They became something. And more they had to be something good and get away from the darkness. All our films, all our drama, everything is about getting away from the darkness, but we invented the darkness. Darkness isn't death. Death is movement. Death is happening continuously. But we think there's this darkness that we've got to get away from. We even think that's the way liberation is. We've got to get away from darkness and get to pleasure. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got nothing to do with nice feelings, with bliss. It's all to do with an illusion of being something separate.
So, if it is not too radical, can we say that then children should not be educated with language?
No, it won't work, because that we're passing it on genetically. It's in all the cells. It's in the cells of the human body. And the language will start. They'll begin to mimic the sounds around them. They can't help it. It's the way it's functioning. But what's happening in humanity simultaneously, and has been happening the whole time, but seems to be happening more now, is that there can still be language, there can still be intelligent thinking, but there can be a collapse of that sensation which says, that is me.
How can that happen?
I don't know how it happens. It just happens. I don't know how it happens. It just happens. There tends to be similarities in stories of how it happens, but it happens. And you're not left out because you've never existed. There's never been anybody independent that existed. There just seems to have been. There's never been 60 years or 30 years or whatever it is of somebody being separate. There's only ever been this instant. That's all there's ever been.
And it was language which created this separation.
Well, ultimately it's God. But yes, in the flow of things it was language. Ultimately it's no thing. No thing creates everything.
So can we have a declaration in the United Nations saying all languages should be abolished?
No, because that can't be with the human. No, there can't be. And even if we abolish language, there'll still be that energetic sense of self passed on. It will still identify now. It's been so many thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Hundreds of thousands, I even think. I'm not sure how long we've had language, but I think it's hundreds of thousands.
3,000 minimum, yeah, they say.
So but what is happening in humans, and I think it's been happening the whole time, but it's happening more so now, is that sense that is you, that you are found in language, which is opposites, you are found in duality. I mean, it's getting expressed so much now.
So language is duality?
Yes. Our language. Me, world, right, wrong. And notice the only way in which you describe yourself will be in that world, and will be with the comparison to something else. I am good. You are never anything, but you're only good in comparison to somebody else. You're only right in comparison to something else. It's this world of opposites, and it's like these barriers don't exist. We've been so fooled by it. These barriers were made up in order to communicate in a very limited way. To be able to say, pass me the salt, or how many fish do we have, or shall I put the fire on? We know fire because it's not air. It's not the wood. It's not the floor. We only know in comparison. So language is duality, and then what's happened is we've believed we're found in language. I am something. And then it's become an energetical sense. It's felt like you end here and that there is an somebody, and I am in here. And what can happen is that I am can go back into the world and then disappear. And then there is just stillness expressing itself. And then that's the end of suffering. And then everything's different. There isn't death, there isn't life. Everything changes. Even though the body dies and the body likes things and doesn't like things and cries when somebody dies, it's just not happening to anyone anymore. That's happening, but in perfect stillness. So now when I speak, it's total stillness speaking. It's not even me speaking in my rubbish language of opposites. I say I, but just speaking happens, looking happens for no one as stillness, which is moving.
When your teaching is so much on free fall, you slightly shy away from using the word destiny. Why? Everything is destined. I mean, people can understand it more easily. There is no free will. We are all automatic robots.
Yeah, I don't mind that word. I've used it in the past, but I prefer the instantaneous expression. It's only got one way it can go. There only can be one expression.
So there is no free will.
No. There's an appearance of free will, but there is no free will. There's nobody with free will.
Everything is destined. Every moment is destined.
What does that mean exactly by the way you say?
Meaning, like what you're speaking now has to happen only in this way.
Yeah.
And you cannot think of what you're speaking.
And it's dependent on everything else.
Yeah.
I think that's all now for tonight. It's 10 past 20, or 10 past 8.
10 past 8. We crossed the limit by 10 minutes.
Yeah, so what time is
Here it is 12:40.
Oh, 12:40. Not too late.
Not too late, yeah. Sunday is not too late.
Yeah.
Wednesday, are you speaking?
Yes.
30th.
Yes.
Next Sunday?
No. But I might no, not next Sunday. But
Right.
Wednesday I am.
Next Sunday is a retreat, is it?
Yeah. We finish a retreat by then, but I'll be travelling home. But then the week after that I will be.
It is 10th, is it?
Um
The next Sunday, the Sunday after that, a fortnight from now.
yeah. Hang on, a fortnight from now, hang on. What date are we today?
10. 3rd you're not speaking Sunday. 10th is the next Sunday.
Oh no, I'm not speaking on the 10th. I'll be speaking on the 17th.
24th?
No, not the 24th. So only the next one is the 17th that I get to speak to Ilangho. And I'll make sure that Ilangho gets in first next time, as it's
31st?
Yes, the 31st, yeah. 17th and 31st for next month.
Wow. Yes.
Nice.
Those of us in spirituality, non-duality, I mean, like, this is the only place where there appears to be an illusion of an answer. Otherwise, it's totally jammed everywhere. It's like, I don't know how to say, it's like everywhere it is like closed. I'm not blaming any teacher or blaming society or blaming humankind or anything. Those of us who have a resonance to non-duality and Advaita,
Yeah.
find the only solace now during your stream and your talks. That's how important you are to us. My words are nothing.
Well, it's really beautiful in one way, but it can feel, it's beautiful that it's being heard, but it can feel a little bit painful for the person, because the person's beginning to have nowhere left to run. It's got no shelter left.
This is a nice kind of pain.
Yeah.
That you are connected in such a way. Because sometimes, at least in India, the spiritual tradition says you have to wait for births and births and births to meet an enlightened body-mind. And those of us who are in some way connected with you, I don't think there is anything else required. That's what I feel. This is the ultimate which can happen. The ultimate heaven, short of heaven. These body minds getting themselves enlightened. This is the next best thing which can happen to any human being. And then when people ask me like, "Are you rich?" And you are an emperor in that way. You've got that link to the cosmos, through the present, through the enlightened.
It's nothing to do with me, but talking about the absolute, it's all that's ever wanted. All that's ever wanted is this instant.
But it is very rare to find a body-mind which is rooted to the present, and then at least through the internet you have a opportunity to speak to them. Very rare.
But that, I don't quite see it like that. But I understand. I see it more as it's not me expressing. This is everything expressing. But I understand the love for the message. So when you say it's this, just doesn't. But I hear what you're saying.
For example, there's this guy called Richard Bach. You heard about Richard Bach, who writes those beautiful books on self-improvement. I forgot his. This one, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, about a seagull which gets enlightened, sort of. You know, read that book, small book. Richard Bach. He gives a famous quote, beautiful book. He gives a famous quote. Rarely do members of the same family live under the same roof. You may be having a family, but you may not be connected to the persons. Especially spirituality, they think you're crazy in society when you talk about them. And then globally you're connected to a lot of spiritual people. And then you have the blessing to talk to a enlightened, unenlightened, teacher, no teacher. That's it. I mean, it's done. You're just waiting for, we are so grateful for that. I don't know whether it's registering with you or not.
Not really, but it registers in the sense of I hear the love for the message. Like I hear the love for this, and that's what's beautiful. Like I hear the connection that with what's happening, and that's really what all these talks are. Is just reminding this. But in the other way, I can't really hear it.
Sure.
In the other way, in the personal world, I can't really hear it.
But do you make a difference between the personal world and the impersonal?
No, but I get the sense that you were also saying something else, but I just can't really notice those sort of things anymore.
Do your parents know you're enlightened?
I don't think they know what that word means. They wouldn't have any reference point to it, because enlightened in English means you could be enlightened about mathematics, or you could be enlightened about the computer, or you had an enlightening thought. It doesn't really have much meaning in the English language. Only when you learn it in the seeker world or spirituality that it has this other meaning. So I don't think they would understand what that word means, but
you can tell them you are another Jesus Christ. Son of God.
They would think I was off to the madhouse. They would literally be like, "Oh, she's off to the madhouse." Then they wouldn't have any reference for that.
Because you were speaking about them, I think, the last talk.
Oh,
your mothers sell your books.
Oh yeah. They wouldn't, but I did get the sense that in some way they have a sense of it, but they wouldn't in language. No, but my mum's read the whole book. I was impressed. My dad read a few pages. Nice. Well, time for my dinner now, and time for Ilangho's sleep.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ilangho. Bye. Okay, guys, I'm sorry, there was Karen, I think, that wanted to speak. Nicola, I'm sorry, Nicola. We're out of time now. Oh, cute pictures, Maria. Hi, Nick. Enjoying your washing up. Okay, thanks, guys. Bye. And I'll see you on this Wednesday. Thanks, bye.